Hello.
All right, we're calling Bob and Pam Allyn now, by the way, guys.
You're calling them. I'm just sitting here looking at a switchboard.
Oh, okay. Did we lose Eric?
I think we did lose Eric.
Oh.
Hello.
Hey, is this Bob Allyn?
Yes, it is.
Hey, this is James Walsh from Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, stranger. How you doing?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Good. Pam's on, too.
Hey.
Hey, Pam. It's nice to speak to you again.
Nice to speak with you.
All righty. And are we ready to go live?
Sure.
All right. And Patrick Kelly is also with us. Patrick?
Hello there. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Actually,
Patrick.
you just missed our old co-host. He was away for at least 3 years, and he came back. He was the one who actually conducted the first interview with me and you guys. So you might miss him, but maybe you'll call him before the end of the interview and get that back together. But anyway, it's great to have you on the program. And so the new book is out, and I've been reading reviews about it, and I've been reading a little bit of the sneak peeks that you get on the Internet of the book, and it seems like where the first book didn't really get into the personal issues that Gordon faced and everything, this book really is the book that people maybe were looking for a little bit more in the last book. Do you think that that's kind of what is that why you kind of geared it that way, this direction?
Well, we always planned on doing two. Initially, the first one was just Gordon's writings, and it had like 150 photographs in it, and a little biographical information.
Right.
This is a true biography because it starts with his ancestors and when he was born and what it was like when he was a child growing up all the way to his death.
Absolutely. And in reading the book reviews, a lot of people are comparing it to the Bret Hart book, whereas a lot of people went in this as fans, and you go into these books with your idols and people that you look up to and you put on pedestals, and sometimes when you read things about them that you didn't know before, you kind of are taken aback and didn't like hearing. Was that something that you guys were concerned with, how truthful you were going to get with Gordon's real life? Because I know you get pretty in detail about the estrangement from his family and a whole lot of his alcohol issues and things of that nature.
Well, the purpose of it was to be a real biography. And one of Dad's close friends, Tom McEwen, was sports editor for the Tampa Tribune. He said, if you're going to do a biography, tell the good with the bad. And that's the only way a biography should be written or read anyway. We tend to put people up on pedestals and forget that they're human beings just like us, that they have issues and how they deal with the issues and whether they maintain, their level of success or it shouldn't. They're human beings. I mean, I think that's kind of coming out right now with the Roman Polanski thing.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, they have issues. They're not perfect, and we all want to be like them. You see the kids imitating Britney Spears or wanting to be like this star or that star, but in reality, maybe their own life is better than what that person had.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even think about it that way. And I mean, with the inception of reality TV and anything, it seems like you don't need any kind of skill, talent, or ability to be a star these days. You just need to be willing to be filmed. And
yes,
it's
you thank YouTube for that too.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, the book is out there, and I got to be honest with you, it hasn't gotten as much push as the last book. I even just tried to find it on Amazon, and the first book comes up, but I have trouble finding the second one. Where can people pick up the new one?
Crowbarpress.com.
Crowbar. Sorry?
Crowbarpress.com. It's Scott Teal.
Scott Teal, who also helped write some of the other wrestling biographies, like Ole Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and J.J. Dillon and stuff. We started out the same way as last time. Our publisher before had it on his website only, and then as time goes on, then you pick it up and stick it on Amazon.
Yep.
But most people, like small publishers, if they have a loyal clientele like Scott does, you want to sell to them first, and then you'll go on to the Amazon and so forth, because that's what he normally does with his.
Excellent.
But that's the first wave of publicity's out there, and now we're gearing up for the second wave.
Excellent. Now, Pam, was this difficult for you to write? Because obviously, I mean, I know a lot about my father's life and all that, but I probably wouldn't be able to write the book the way that you guys wrote this book. Is it difficult to distance yourself from the personal relationship you had with your father to try to tell the story the way that you told the story, from a kind of in the way that you told it, in a way it wasn't a slanted and my father was an angel. It was telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yeah, it was real difficult. There were times that I'd be writing something and I'm like, oh, I can't write that. I can't say it like that. It's got to be said in a certain way. And the other issue was I was learning about my family also. I was learning about my dad. And there were things in there that my dad didn't even know before he passed away. I mean, family stuff that he had no clue of, because his childhood was a mystery.
Really?
Yeah, and he would drop little hints about certain things, like somebody he knew had been put in jail for whatever reason, and he's oh no, they need to get out of there. And I'm like, what's the matter? He goes, no, no one should be in jail. And he said, I had an experience once, and that was the end of the conversation. And I'm like, huh?
Really?
And I didn't push it. And he said something one time about, boy, he knew how to climb the side of a house. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, they were just little hints. I mean, he was a great storyteller, and he was great at dropping hints and baiting people. So, I mean, I had to go back into the records in Minnesota just to find his birth certificate, because he had 3 different names.
Wow.
And he thought he'd been adopted at age 2. Well, he wasn't.
When was he adopted?
He was adopted around 8 or 9.
Wow.
And he'd already lived with his stepfather for all that, from age 2 to 9. I mean, it just the family dynamics, and if someone wants to be, I mean, somebody asked me, well, don't you think you're airing your father's dirty laundry? And I'm like, no. I mean, if somebody's going to be offended, I would be the one offended. It's my father.
Exactly. And, I've thought about that myself, and that was something I was thinking about asking you, but I thought against it. And the reason I thought against it was, what a better way to keep Gordon's name out there than to release a book, because he can't do it himself now, unfortunately.
No, so, and he had intentions on writing his own autobiography. So that's,
you're fulfilling his wishes.
Yes.
And not only that, but you're also keeping, and I know this probably doesn't mean as much to you as it would to a fan, but you're keeping his name and legacy alive. Like, on this show, we constantly are talking about the announcers and how we really, really like
how much
this
we
announcer.
love them, right?
We either really like an announcer or we
really don't like them.
Exactly, right. And, when we talk about the greatest of all time, Gordon is either 1 or 2 on the list, almost always, of the ones that we say, well, why can't they do it the way he did it? I mean, and to this day, whenever anybody hears Crimson Mask, you think of Gordon. The other day, my son gave me a lariat in the pool, and I thought of Gordon. I was my son asked me what a suplex was, and I told him to say it as a suplex. I do things like that, just to things that stick with you.
Well, even at Gordon's memorial service, so Tom McEwen was the one that did his eulogy, and Tom mentioned, Gordon's accolades in announcing and all the Hall of Fames, and of course he stopped and he says, now Gordon was in a lot of other Hall of Fames too. So Gordon was in the Martini Hall of Fame, and Gordon was in the Benson and Hedges Hall of Fame. So they got those close to him, and even some, the guys in the industry knew his strengths. Mm-hmm. And
the line that Larry Zbyszko gave me once, and he said, I was talking to him, he was my second interview back in 2002. And we were talking about, who he liked to do announcing with, and he said that Gordon was one of his favorites. And he said the only problem was nobody knew it, but every time you didn't see him off stage, he was schnockered, was the exact words he used. I mean, he said he was the most fun guy to be around, though.
He was a functioning alcoholic.
Exactly, right.
High functioning alcoholic. I mean, he could go out to lunch, and he'd have 2, 4, 6, sometimes 6, sometimes 8 drinks. And you'd swear up and down he wouldn't be able to do anything else, and he'd get behind the microphone, and like it was nothing, like he was just as normal as could be.
He could do the wrestling show in the morning at the Sportatorium, go to lunch, have 3 double vodkas, and then he'd go, I got to stop by and do the news. And the first time I was with him, like, well, you just drank all this stuff. What do you mean you're going to go do the news? And he jumps behind the glass at the radio station and rattles it off and never misses a beat. And so it was just amazing.
Wow. But the other part of it is that in the book, one of my purposes was to bring out that we have a problem with alcohol in this country. and we need to address it more than we are. I mean, it's okay for everybody to drink, except don't get behind the wheel,
right.
You know, that kind of stuff. But it's too socially accepted, and even Dad said that was one of his regrets, that he could never drop it. He could never stop drinking.
Yeah, and it's not just a young person's thing anymore either. It's, you know, the people, I was remarking with my Patrick, who's on the line with us right now, I was saying to Patrick the other day that I got on Facebook, and I'm talking to some of the people that I grew up with, and they're the same now that they were when I graduated school over a decade ago.
Uh-huh.
And it's, to me, it's like, well, you know, I did stupid things 10 years ago. I've stopped doing them. You know, why is nobody else growing up, and why is nobody else, you know, why is it now accepted that everybody can still drink, you know, as much as they drank then, even though it was illegal for them to do it then, now it's legal?
Well, as intelligent as my father was, if he had known about his family background and his own father's bout with alcoholism, I don't think he would have gone down that trail. You know, I think he would have recognized it, because he was a great one for finding, you know, let's find a reason to let's fix this now.
Now, do you think that had anything to do with just the craziness of the wrestling business, or did it nothing to do with it?
No, I think it's part of the entertainment business.
Entertainment business as a whole?
I think, yeah.
He was in radio first, and he drank then. He was in stock car racing. And
but he'd tell you, I like to drink. That was his thing.
Now, you mentioned in our first interview that Gordon was a better announcer at stock car racing than he ever was at wrestling.
I said that, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember that vividly, and I was glad that you guys got to really talk about that in this book, that you guys made a point to talk about his stock car racing, because not a lot of wrestling fans knew that he had other interests and other avenues that he worked in.
We've already gotten feedback, and for the most part, people are saying they like that. There's somebody else saying that, you know, a couple of comments like, well, you put too much racing in there. But that's what Gordon did. He was so involved in racing. He was general manager of a track. He announced the races. He did all the publicity. At one time, he did all the publicity for 3 racetracks, plus ran one and announced and did wrestling on television and did a radio show.
And could drive a car like you would not believe. He had a lead foot.
Oh, boy.
But nothing will nothing will take away from what Gordon Solie was. He was, in my opinion, the best that ever held a microphone for professional wrestling. And it amazed me. It amazed me that, you know, back in the 70s, he had 5 million people watching him every week on a regional show. Those are incredible numbers, you know. Most people never do that. And
it wasn't just that.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that's what made Gordon one of the best at wrestling, is that he was so good that he could do a legit sport. Well, I don't want to say, you know, dash wrestling or anything, but he could do like a real sport, and it would sound totally legit. And a lot of the guys today don't have that quality.
No. And that was one of the things that his class saw him doing, was, you know, holding a roundtable discussion for, I think it was either CBS News. I mean, that's how they saw him when he was in high school. He was an orator, you know, and he loved the microphone. He loved entertaining people. And it didn't make a difference if he was doing the news or sports or, you know, whatever. He loved doing it.
Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about announcers these days. And I know for a while there, Bob was writing an article for, what was it, Armpit?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you still doing that?
I don't know. They're not even really pushing the site anymore.
Oh, okay. Now, I take it from that you will still follow, at least loosely, the wrestling business.
Yes.
Right. And Pam, I mean, do you as well?
Yeah, I know what's going on.
Exactly. I guess the question I have is, you know, everybody talks about Jim Ross as one of the greatest of all time, but then you watch some of the ones that are just so, you see through them and you don't believe anything about what they're doing. And just a few weeks ago, I got a DVD in the mail, and I do this because I love what wrestling was and can still be. That's what I describe to people all the time. I got a DVD of the CWF, and it was Gordon, and the Dirty White Girl came out, and she was pretending to have been beaten up by the Dirty White Boy, and she wanted to talk to Tom Pritchard and get help, and the way Gordon sold that story, to me, it seemed like he legitimately cared. And when you watch it now, you just don't believe that the announcers care. And just watching that was a refreshing change from what I see on regular TV these days. getting to step back and see that Gordon was just so good at making you believe in the storyline that it wasn't just a carnival sideshow and some kind of Saturday Night Live wannabe show like Raw's becoming. It was a legitimate form of entertainment mixed in with a soap opera.
Well, and things are different, too, because Alex Marvez, who's a senior writer for FoxSports.com now, Alex does the weekly column on wrestling still, and it usually goes out on the Scripps News Service.
Yep.
And we interviewed him for the book, and one of the points he made was normally the audience felt like they were seeing things unfold in the ring at the same time as Gordon did, and that was usually the case because Gordon didn't have a script. They didn't even fill him in on what was going to happen in the match. He just called it the way he saw it. So that's how it made it so believable, because he was seeing it at the same time you and I were. Because I never got hooked on wrestling until I went to Florida on my honeymoon and turned on Championship Wrestling from Florida. Because in those days we couldn't get it in Illinois. And then we moved down there, and I started watching, and I got hooked. I was a Gordon Solie fan.
Exactly.
And he got me just like he got a lot of other people. What's happened to some of these guys, though, I mean, Jim Ross has always been one of Gordon's favorites. Always was. He's one of mine. Like him personally, but he's working in a different era now. He's not doing what he did in the 1980s.
Right.
He worked for Bell Watch, or somebody else. These guys today, I don't know how much latitude they have for personalizing anything, or if they just have a script with every word they got to rattle off.
And I think a lot of them get fed lines through their headsets.
Yeah, Mick Foley actually made that comment when he quit the company. Mick Foley said he was getting told in the headset, say it now, damn it, say it now. I mean, I guess you really don't have the same latitude. You kind of have to be, get the point across as they want you to.
What's amazing, though, is you can go back into the 80s, and Gordon said Jim Ross was one of the best. And then in the 90s, he liked Mike Tenay, who's now really popular with TNA wrestling.
Right.
And I like listening to Mike personally. And, there's things on both sides of the fence that I like, but primarily it's Jim Ross, and
right.
Mike Tenay are the guys I like to hear talk in this day and age.
I think it's more pronounced, more evident as a soap opera today.
So what's amazing is we went to NWA Anarchy and saw an old-time wrestling show, and it was a absolute ball.
Absolutely.
And then we went to one in Barnesville, old school wrestling, and they had 700 people there, and that place went crazy. I mean, it's totally different, and they kind of build it up to, with the later matches, but these are diehard fans that still go out and plunk down their money on Saturday nights to watch the old-time wrestling. And there's a zillion of them out there still.
Yeah, I mean, we can go all day about topics like that. I mean, on this show, we got into a very heated debate, kind of ESPN pardon the interruption style, and we said, look, at the end of the day, this is a simulated sport, and yet there's no rule book. So we were saying, why don't the WWE, in their infinite wisdom, release a rule book? And I think that would be the most brilliant thing that they could do, because this way they could cite things, and people would understand fully what the rules are, because the rules seem to ever change around us, and I don't know. I mean, look at there's no tag rope anymore. There's nothing.
Well, as the business was being deregulated, that's one of the topics we mentioned in the book. And different states started taking action against the violence in wrestling, or they deregulated, or however they handled it. Gordon still had a copy. I think it was in '83 that came up. That one of the southern states was trying to ban it, and then Texas tried to take steps against it. Gordon still had a copy, and it was the official book for the NWA rules for that year. They actually printed them. You could read them,
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I would think that if WWE did that would be a brilliant idea, because this way they could, even the heels could, find loopholes in the book, do the whole...
Well, it would add some legitimacy to it.
And which is desperately needed. Well, I mean, you guys, you've been out there doing, keeping Gordon's name alive for a while now, and I know you guys did the wrestling reunion a few years back, and, the fans, from what I understand, really love meeting you guys and talking about the old times with Gordon. Have you guys been getting out there and meeting the fans for the new book?
We've done a couple, like I said, we've done 2 appearances, actually, so far at 2 wrestling shows. and now we're going to be carnies like Gordon was in his early days. We're doing some festivals. One of them has like 75,000 people show up. It's called Mule Camp Market in Gainesville, Georgia. We're going to be doing the Moonshine Festival, and they draw about 100,000 people. So yeah, we're going to go to some bigger venues now and sign books and
attend some fan fests, get into some of them.
And I think we've done, 10 interviews so far. Mm-hmm. So it's starting to move along. Like I said, the publishing industry moves like a turtle, and you go one step at a time, whether you like it or not. But we've been having a ball, and the reaction from the people, like at TNA or at NWA Anarchy, when they just mentioned Gordon's name, you could hear a pop. I mean, a loud pop from the audience. And the same thing, and when we went to Barnesville to see the show there, when the mere mention of his name, it still brings people to their feet, and they still clap and cheer for Gordon Solie. It's incredible.
And I mean, that's the thing that the youth of today is starting to get through the wonder of WWE 24/7 and getting the chance to see the old stuff and really get an appreciation for it, as well as things like YouTube and that. People will listen and go on there. And, there are wrestling fans that I've heard from that are like me, that they're too young to have ever lived through what I view as the golden age. But they have a very strong understanding of what it was and say basically what I said earlier in the interview. They love what wrestling can be and what it once was, and hope that one day it will once again be what it once was, or at least comparable, whereas right now we're nowhere near that. But, it's always great to have you guys on, and I wanted to ask you, before I let you go, what do you guys think would be the most surprising thing somebody will take out of reading this book? What might they learn that they're really, scratch their head and say, I did not know that when they finish this book?
I'm glad you don't ask tough questions here.
J. Michael Kenyon. That's what J. Michael Kenyon said.
Yeah, I think part of it would be his involvement in racing. The second thing is what you mentioned, although he's an icon in the business, that, he had some faults as a human being. And I think there's, I would say some of the how Gordon really started in wrestling, how Georgia really collapsed, how Florida Championship Wrestling collapsed, because he was there, And I think if they want to know what led up to today's wrestling, this is a good book to read because it'll tell them exactly what happened.
Another piece, too, is the first book were, his writings, his personal writings. And when you read the second book, if you have the first book, everything starts to become a lot clearer. Right.
The first book had a lot of, poetry and things of that nature that maybe, I think you said that he wanted to be released? Or
Yes.
And maybe this book will lend some idea of what he was thinking about when he wrote the things that he wrote.
Oh, yeah. Because I read the poetry first and then got into doing the research on his family and his life and who he was and that kind of stuff. And it was like, wow, that's why he wrote that. I mean, it just all fell into place. It's like a big puzzle.
But we heard along the way, too, is the fact that so many of the recent biographies on popular wrestling guys were more or less highlight books. They didn't really get into their personalities or anything,
right?
With the exception like the Bret Hart book. So no matter which avenue we took, if we released just the highlights of Gordon, people are going to complain, like, why you didn't tell us the real story about Gordon? And if you do tell the real story, then there's other people who say, well, he's an icon, you shouldn't have said anything bad about him. So we did what we felt was true to a real biography in this book.
And I don't think Dad would be upset at all.
I was going to ask you, do you think he'd be proud of your performance?
He would say you left something out. Did I tell you this story? Like not enough pages. I mean, it would have been great. But
and one of the reasons Gordon was so spectacular as an announcer is that he was harder on himself than any of us could ever be.
Yeah, accolades were not something that he took at all.
No,
he didn't know how to say it. He didn't know how to say thank you when someone would say, you did an awesome job. He'd go, oh, no, I could make it better.
He never thought he was as good as everybody else thought he was.
I mean, it was growing up in the 80s, when I grew up, he was just an icon. And in 95, I remember vividly, I was on vacation and I was watching the Saturday morning show where he announced that he was retiring. And I remember being bummed even though I was on vacation at a beach house. It was a beautiful day, and I was just thinking, oh, that kind of sucks. The entire day I just kept thinking, that sucks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. People will always have the memories that they did for Gordon, and I think it's a tribute to him that years and years after he's retired, and 14 years since he retired from wrestling, almost every legitimate, and I won't talk about, a 10-year-old that's putting together something on his Facebook page, but any legitimate list of the top 10 announcers of all time has him 1 or 2. And I think that's right where he should be.
Well, and attesting to it even more is if you put his name into search on the Internet, it's like, whoa. He would be totally shocked by that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He would, wow.
Oh, he's still slammed all over, like you said, YouTube. He's in the library at WWE when they run their 24/7 with the
still here.
shows.
He's still here.
People are still selling the videos all over the place where he was announcing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes sometimes, like I said, whenever I just get so fed up with the wrestling business, I pop in a Florida Championship Wrestling tape, or I pop in, I've been just now, for the first time ever, seeing the CWF stuff, and Gordon calling that, and it brings a smile to your face to go back and see what it once was, and Gordon was a big part of it.
I was talking to Russell Meyerson, he was a friend of Gordon's, and now he's like an executive vice president for the CW network. And in an email he told me, he said, I still find myself going back to YouTube or wherever I could look at a Gordon Solie old-time wrestling video. So the people that like Gordon, they still do it. I do it, If I have a few minutes here and there, I'll go, well, let's see what they got now stuck on there for Gordon, and I'll watch him do an interview or call a match. And I still enjoy it just like I did then.
Excellent. And the book is the Gordon Solie Chronicles, and where can people pick it up one more time?
Oh, at crowbarpress.com.
Very, very good. And they should keep an eye out for you guys. And where can they keep up with you guys to find out where you might be able to get a signed copy?
If they go to the website and look at the media, just says media, and that tells our schedule for interviews and appearances.
Very, very good. And we'll have to make sure we get a link up on there for this interview. And I did want to say this to you guys before I let you off the line. 2 things real quick, and it's kind of more of an inside thing than anything else. I hope you guys weren't offended if Brian Blair kind of made it sound like he didn't know who you were.
I know who it was.
That's not Brian Blair doing it. It's his press guy, whatever.
Yeah, Shannon.
Shannon, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I told you that, but I didn't want to post it on the Facebook page.
Well, I made it look good, didn't I?
Yeah.
Saw your lovely wife, Tony. We said hello.
There you go. And the other thing was, we'll get that Slamboree tape. What I did was I did a DVD copy of that Slamboree where Gordon was inducted into the defunct WCW Hall of Fame, and I think you guys had said you never saw it before.
No, never have.
And I did a copy of it, and I don't think I ever sent it to you. So if I didn't, I will make sure I find that. I'll find the DVD and get that over to you guys. So I'll send you an email and make sure I get that tape over.
That's wonderful. I appreciate it. I'm glad to see you on Facebook.
All right. Well, keep in contact, guys, and if there's ever anything we can post on our news line to help promote the book, let us know, because anything we can do to help you guys out, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Tell Patrick.
I'm here.
You there? Hey, Patrick,
okay, I'm here.
Thanks, Patrick. We didn't let you get a word in edgewise tonight, but maybe later on.
No, that's okay. It's cool.
All
okay.
right.
I like to listen.
All right.
And for James, congratulations, Papa.
There you go. Yep, he arrived in a little over a month ago, and my wife just came in with him in her arms just a minute ago. So.
Oh, enjoy.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, have a great night, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, James.
Thank
you so much,
Patrick.
Bye-bye.
And that was 2 of my favorite people to interview here on the Interactive Interview. We had him on about 4 years ago, and it was actually Eric Clancy and I who did that interview. It was one of the first interviews that Eric and I did on our own, and I don't know why, but I really enjoyed the interview because it just seemed like such genuine, real people. And I think, again, going back to it, that
Speaking of Eric, I believe he just called in. Him and Andre. Scott, are you with us?
Yes. I was just texting Eric. One of the joys I actually get when I call in is to call in randomly at a random time and not know what you're talking about or who you're talking with. And if you got a guest on, trying to figure out from the clues, A, what you're talking about, and B, who you're talking to. And I can't figure out who those two were.
They were Gordon Solie. Remember the legendary wrestling announcer Gordon Solie?
Yes.
That was Gordon Solie's daughter. Gordon passed away in 2000. They just released a new book telling the life and stories and trials and tribulations of her father, Gordon Solie. They just released a great book on it and explaining how he wasn't just a wrestling announcer, even though wrestling was his primary thing that people remember him for. He also ran a stock car company and was an announcer for a stock car company. This was a really life and times of Gordon Solie, who I think everybody who legitimately talks about wrestling through the years values and views as one of the top of all time. Even Jim Ross, who many put at the top of the list, has said
that he's second to Gordon Solie.
Yeah, he gladly takes a second step. And
they
you know what?
About Gordon Solie nowadays.
What's that again?
He doesn't get much publicity nowadays in terms of the way Jim Ross does, because he's still active, of course. But
exactly. That's why books like this is something that I champion, because that's a true story. What I said on the air there. I was on vacation in St. Augustine, Florida, when I was watching. I think it was WCW Pro, and it was Gordon standing next to Dusty Rhodes and Larry Zbyszko, and he announced that he was, this was his last day, and that entire day, even though that was 9 o'clock in the morning, that entire day, I was just kept thinking, that sucks. That really sucks. I'm gonna miss that guy.
They gave it away on Pro?
Yeah, that's kind of like.
This was before Nitro.
Yeah, but still, they could have done.
Saturday night was a big show. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't calling Saturday night.
That was a good interview that James and I originally when we did, and this was too, obviously, but it was just like, just nice people. It's nice to see. Honestly, you talk to a lot of people in the wrestling business, they're really vulgar and angry a lot of times, and
kind of like us.
A cat calling the kettle, or a pot calling the kettle, rather. I don't know why a cat would call a kettle anything, but so they're nice, well-spoken, articulate, fun people, and it's nice to talk to them. Honestly, we talk about the list. I'd probably put JR number 1, but Solie's number 2, and it's like Babe Ruth. Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, guys like that. It's like, who cares really? They're all at the top of their game. It's just like it doesn't really. At some point, you just become legendary, and it's fun to rank. But Solie's. No one would argue with Solie being at number 1. In fact, I think the majority of people would put him there. So
I would as well.
The only ones who wouldn't really are the ones who've never heard him.
Exactly. The only reason that you wouldn't put him at least in your top 5 is if you just never heard him.
Right.
Here's a question, though, guys. Because we're talking about announcers here. I think if Gordon was alive today, I think he'd learn a lot from a young man named Michael Cole.
Yeah. He'd learn the power slam is actually a scoop slam.
Yeah. Yes. And, so...
and an RKO is a bulldog.
So I brought Andres with us, our Colombian correspondent. By the way, Andres, I'm sure you must have loved it this week that they said that the reason Rosa is so feisty is because of a Latin heritage. It's like James, because Finley loves to fight because he's Irish.
I was just telling Eric before we went on. I was like, I think they're pushing Chavo. For anybody that did not see Raw, Chavo tagged with Masters against Hornswoggle and Santino, of all people, So there's no way these guys are going to win.
But it's Hornswoggle, though.
That's what I thought, but I'm like, no way Santino and them. You know what I mean?
No, but Andre, this is the same thing that we say, though. Like I said the same thing when I was talking to you, and Patrick said, no, there's no way that Hornswoggle loses, though. And you say, that's what I said, but you're talking about the other side.
No, he usually has a decent partner. Evan Bourne, you can kind of see, but like Santino, no way.
Okay, whatever. Go ahead.
So then, long story short, Masters ends up putting the Master Lock on Santino. He then grabs Hornswoggle, brings him in the ring, and then puts him in the Master Lock.
So they turn Masters face?
Well,
all right, Masters, all right.
You know what? Accidentally, I think they could. I never thought of it like that, but yeah.
Yeah, so basically Andres comes out to say that then Chavo punches Masters in the face, and he thinks that he's either turning face or he's mad that someone else is beating Hornswoggle. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, that was Colombian correspondent Andres with today's useless raw fact of the day.
Now here's the problem with that whole thing. Chavo has been made to look like a complete chump for the last 3 months because he's been jobbing the Hornswoggle left and right.
And
Masters wins, and Bob Barker. The feud is between Hornswoggle and Chavo, yet the finish includes neither guy. So, but, okay, Masters gets a win, so I guess they're building him up. No, the guy that got beat by a midget punched him and knocked him out, apparently. So nobody comes off looking good.
Or by the way, since nobody was apparently no one on the line, including myself, really saw the full Raw. How about something else that made Nick happy? How about something that's gonna piss off Nick? But I loved it. Miz tackled the crap out of Swagger and punched him in the face a bunch of times.
I don't really care about that because, in my opinion, in that match, Miz is the stronger heel. They've flagged horribly since coming to Raw. He'd be better off either going to SmackDown and working low on SmackDown or going back to ECW and being the big fish in the small pond. I mean, you're honestly going to tell me you'd rather push Swagger than Miz?
No, I think he makes a great point. It's an alternative.
No, I'm asking Nick if he who he'd rather push.
I said Miz is the one that should win the U.S. title on Sunday. I was saying that, unfortunately, they've kind of just tacked Swagger into this feud. They've done nothing with Swagger on Raw. I think he'd be better off somewhere else. I think Swagger has potential, but the guy that should be getting the bigger push is, in fact, Miz. I feel like Swagger, if anything, is going to steal Miz's heat a little.
How do you think Swagger would match up with Morrison? Who, by the way, I'm going to answer that question in a second. By the way, more and more every week, you're seeing that 18 to 34 demographic males. Like every time Morrison's music hits, you're seeing a vocal bass cheer in their voices. We're not getting like children cheering for John Cena. We're getting like the Attitude Era crowd who look at Morrison, and his pops are getting bigger every week. But Nick, how do you think Swagger would match up with Morrison?
Well, listen, I can tell you what happened with Swagger real quick. Sorry to interrupt. Is McMahon went to Swagger and was like, okay, listen, you can either get a big push or get.
This is conjecture. Why were you doing this?
Who?
You.
Oh, sorry. Or get pyrotechnics. And I think he chose the pyrotechnics over the career push.
Hello?
I wish I had a cricket sound. Anyway, Nick, we'll go with what you're going to say.
Did we lose Nick?
Hello?
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Can anyone hear me?
Speak. Yeah, we can fucking hear you. Now speak. Okay, apparently Nick can't hear us.
Apparently Nick is, and we just lost Nick.
Good. Good riddance. Good riddance to Nick's lack of anything. Okay, well, how do you guys feel Swagger would match up with Morrison?
I'll tell you what, I think the feud would be a perfect way for Morrison to show off his sarcastic side because, Swagger to me is such a dork. That I think if you want to get somebody over as a sarcastic prick, I think, it's perfect fodder to feed to Morrison on the mic.
I'll tell you who didn't like that comment. It was Andres. Andres doesn't like when people insult Jack Swagger.
I'm still trying to figure out how this talking thing works when we can't see each other. So, Eric, to take the ball and not just hand it to me. Swagger.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, you're back on.
We had heard you before. Oh, looks like you still can't hear us.
I got kicked off, so.
All right, Nick, go with what you're going to say.
Well, I mean, I think in terms of a in-ring match, the two could match up pretty well. Swagger is the power guy, and Morrison would be the speed guy. But if you're talking about the guy that should get the bigger push, be made into the bigger star, far and away it's Morrison. I mean, Morrison. No.
I was saying in matches with the two of them.
In an actual in-ring match, I think they pair up pretty good because Swagger moves pretty good for a guy who's about, 6'5", 6'6". Morrison, able to pretty much make magic out of anyone. So, I mean, I think in terms of the big guy match, it could work pretty damn well. I also, and Swagger kind of is more straight-laced, I'm just a big brute guy. Morrison would be the guy, that would just be able to, be the cool guy and be like, basically be what they were hoping Christian could be, because Swagger actually still because Morrison still gives a damn about his promos. And Christian's just now gotten to the point where he's talking every funny line he can think of.
Here's the thing with ECW. ECW is following the same pattern that all the other shows followed. And Andres, you missed it last week, but they but Nick called you out as a complete contrarian. Once I pointed out that I liked Zack Ryder, you jumped off the bandwagon immediately, almost like clockwork. But the fact is, they had an opportunity a few weeks ago, and Zack Ryder, who's had great matches with Christian, who's in the ring, is very, very good, especially for his age, and could have been a real breakout star there. And what did they do? Oh, they had him beat. They had Christian beat him in an albeit very good match, and then had Regal come out and it's reestablished the feud. I was talking to Patrick, and it reminded me of in 2005 after Edge won the 1 second here. Okay, sorry, I stubbed my toe. After Edge won the Gold Rush tournament, he challenged Batista, and basically Batista beat him in a good match, but still beat him. And then Triple H came back out, attacked Batista, and stole the heat, and put the heat back on the old reliable feud, where it would have been much more interesting to see the hot new heel Edge take on Batista. The same thing. Regal is Triple H, Ryder is Edge, and Christian was Batista. They could have had a new thing going with Ryder as the new top heel, and they just pretty much had him lose, and it was a pointless build-up for him winning the Battle Royal the previous week.
You pretty much hit the nail on the head, Eric, and unfortunately the problem with ECW is that their roster's not big enough. I mean, they only have, 12, 13 guys on the show, so to go back to the same old match that we've seen 3 times is just ridiculous.
It's the same problem the entire company does. They don't have enough people because Vince can't afford to hire anyone. We counted on Raw. There's 24 guys. Not even. That's like the best. 24 guys. You can only have the same matches so many times before everything just runs out because you simply do not have enough guys in the roster. An ideal roster would be maybe a 50 or 60 guy, and a lot of people say, "Oh, that's too much." No, what it does is it allows you to rotate talent, so you see different talent every week. It has a deeper pool, so you're able to do more things and promote more competition. You can have more contenders matches, and basically think about who the contenders are for the world title. Cena, Orton, Triple H, and Michaels. There's 4 guys. And then the U.S. title, the 3 guys are in a match. There's nobody else. Evan Bourne's essentially an enhancement talent. The company simply does not have enough guys to sustain what they want to do.
Well, the problem is more obvious on ECW.
But I mean, go ahead.
Eric, you gave me those the Rise and Fall of ECW DVD, which was awesome. And after seeing that, I think we should call it sci-fi wrestling from now on because does nothing even close to the original 3 letters.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, Nick. I'll let you go. I'll let you talk 1 second. We're beyond the point of comparing it to that ECW. It is what it is now. And we all need to accept that.
Call it something different.
That trite argument needs to be put to bed. Go ahead, Nick.
You don't want to call it the sci-fi wrestling?
I don't. Nick?
I was going to say welcome to 2006, Andres, because everyone's been saying that since the day they debuted.
I saw the DVD this past weekend. Leave me alone, dude. It was awesome.
Yeah. Anyone that knows even anything remotely about the old ECW knows that this is nothing like what the real ECW is. But I mean, Eric's right. I mean, the symptom on ECW of they went right back to the guy. What? How old is Regal now? 55, moving around like.
I think he's 42.
Right. He's 42. He was once upon a time one of the greatest workers of all time. Now he's just old and boring. But it's the same old, same old. The minute they had a chance to make somebody new and really establish a new contender to the title, they said, no, we got to go back. And even worse, not only did Ryder lose, Regal pretty much goes out and craps on him because he goes, well, now that this false, this untrue match, this nobody has lost 2 shots. It's my time again. Which I'm like, it was basically a Triple H promo with an English accent because that's how Triple H is. Whenever Triple H didn't have a shot at his title, he'd be like, I remember there was some promo a couple years ago where Shawn got a title shot, and Triple H basically just cut a whole promo about how it was, or I think it was RVD got the title shot, and Triple H basically cut the whole promo about how that's not right. I should be getting a rematch tonight.
That's a very good comparison.
WWE. What did you say?
That's a very good comparison because Regal has gotten numerous pushes throughout the years, one after the other, and they're nothing really sticks. They're let's try a different push. And King of the Ring winner, GM. I mean, wow.
I think there's a spot for Regal on the show. I think he's a good enough worker, and he deserves to have some kind of a spot. But at this point, I think it's time for him to step aside and start getting into that role where he starts making the younger talent look good.
Here's the thing. WWE never likes to push new talent, and new is scary to people. A lot of people do not like change, and that makes a really effective heel. Someone that you're not ingratiated with, somebody that hasn't come along and established them. Everybody's established. You want to know why Randy Orton? Yeah, well, no, I mean, the bottom line is, why was Randy Orton so effective in 2002, 2003? You saw him for like 4 seconds, and he was this prick who was instantly all over the place. Who the fuck are you? Go away. I've never seen you before. It jars you to see someone new so far in your face. And it's shown all these times, like Rocky Maivia. It can get like obviously not intentionally, but it can get a great heel reaction. Zack Ryder is a lot of people haven't seen him. He's basically like for lack of a better term, what people call him is a Long Island Guido who goes clubbing, and he's really annoying. He's really he's got that aspect to him that's just grating. And you start pushing him, and people who haven't seen him before just instantly get perturbed because he hasn't been established in the WWE system. He hasn't been homogenized. Legacy's getting to the point where they've been churned through the industrial system, the point where their originality's been squeezed out. When Ted first came in, Ted had all his regular heel characteristics, but he was beautiful. He was infuriating because he was so new, so cocky, so pristine out of the gate. I mean, a lot of people don't like somebody who's so fresh and just comes out there and claims that they're the best in the world. And that's a great thing to use for heels, especially if you're going to push them on the main event level. And they don't do it. I mean, they have opportunities, and they just blow it because we want to see the same old thing. Well, the same old thing isn't working. It hasn't worked. Why not give the new guys a shot?
And here's the thing. You know why they don't do it? One of the last people that they tried that with was Brock Lesnar, and it worked very well until he walked out on him. And
Brock Lesnar is a perfect example, and he wasn't the perfect wrestler, and I think that's the big problem that Patrick and I had a problem with. We felt he was massively overrated. But deep down, a lot of true heel heat came from the fact that he just mowed over everybody instantly. He was a new face. We weren't used to him. It's a jarring feeling. It's a new character thrust in your face. It's exciting and strange at the same time. But they don't take advantage of that, and you're right, and they did get burned. But Vince, it's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen too many other times, though. So you need to relax.
Yeah. Well, I think you're the one that said it, Eric. He'd rather lose money and keep control than have somebody succeed and become bigger than the company.
Well, nobody can ever become bigger than the business because you can always find new stars, and the business will go on. I mean, it's proven. But the fact is, they need to take a chance on someone. I mean, CM Punk's a good example. They need to. I mean, I know they don't want Undertaker to lose to just anyone, and I can respect that to a degree. I don't know if Nick's still on the line, but I'm sure he's so crazy.
No, he's not.
But yeah, no, he's But I think Punk's a guy they can trust with a Taker win.
Real quick, in terms of starting new things, we should start a petition.
Oh God!
Let me finish. Asking for blood back in wrestling. Okay, I don't know about you.
You did this last week. Oh, no, you didn't. You weren't on.
There's three Hell in a Cell matches. 3 this coming Sunday. There better be blood in one of them, or I might go on boycott.
There's not. These points are useless and out of date. Stop making them.
Dude, the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view is on Sunday, my friend.
Yeah, I know. By the way, are we seeing that at the shut up? Are we seeing that at the bar?
What'd you say? No.
What?
I'm not going anywhere on Sunday. What are you doing?
I was talking to Andres because he lives in the city that I live in.
Yeah, I live nowhere near there.
There's a bar in Chicago. You can go see it for like $5.
No, yeah, I'm saying I'm just saying, are we going?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I'm going to see.
Oh, this is cute. They make a date on the air.
I know, Eric. You could have put us off the air.
No, you know what you can do this. People like the human quality because you're so stupid they can't believe you're an actual human. Anyway, the pay-per-view is to me a tale of two cities. Really, I think it's a strong card except for Orton and Cena. And assuming the right thing happens, which it will not in the Legacy DX match. But, I mean, other than that, Ziggler, Morrison, Punk, Taker, the tag title match. There's a lot of good matches.
They made Orton look terrible on Raw. Terrible.
Well, that's a story every week. I mean, he's the most castrated heel in wrestling. Oh my.
Okay, yeah, and yes, that's true. And yes, I'm not going to defend this at all, but for all the Orton supporters out there, there's a ton. He does enough of that by himself. If I have to hear another Orton promo, I'm going to shoot myself in the face with a nail gun. Oh my God.
There's nothing right with him. He's not being booked right. He doesn't do anything himself right. He's just awful all around.
No, but the thing is, yeah, and the thing is, people prefer him. Cena though, and they'll act like it's okay, like they'll cheer Orton because they're like, oh, he's not Cena. Okay, well, guys, ladies and gentlemen, wake up and smell the coffee. Orton fucking sucks right now. I mean, he is horrendous, and we've talked about this on the air. We talked about ad nauseum on the SummerSlam episode.
They've made him suck.
No, Andres. Nobody makes you suck when you cut a promo like that. When I want to challenge you to a match. I'm sorry, Andres.
How much
no one
creative
talks like
control
that.
do you think he's getting behind the character? You think he's pushing that character, or they're telling him to push that character? It's like in acting. If you're acting, the director is going to have the final say of how you're going to be. You know what I'm saying?
No, he doesn't. But okay.
Yeah, there might be some truth to that, but are they really telling him to cut his promos at 2 words a minute?
Could be. Well, that's something we have to find out.
You're right. But the bottom line is he's doing it, Andres. And if it's his fault or Vince's fault, it's not being done correctly. And the fact is, no one tells him to. I mean, it's just things he does when he wrestles his matches. I'm sure Vince doesn't tell him how to move in matches. He slinks over, hunched over all the time. He does a stupid fist stomping thing. The character's all wrong. The look's wrong. Everything's wrong about him. I mean, he's at the point where he's almost as bad as Cena. He is there. I mean, I would never thought I'd say this, but Batista is by far the best of the three. By far. In fact, I'm actually enjoying Batista right now, and he's not even that good.
Yeah, pretty well. He's the only one that hasn't been, we've talked about it all the time, with them watering down their baby faces and making them uncool. Somehow, Batista has escaped that.
Well, Triple H injuries, so we need to, yeah, you know what, I mean, Edge, it's going to help out Edge a lot, too, when he comes back.
When Batista sticks around too long, he starts getting like that. Like Cena, they never go away. You got to go away so people forget.
I don't know. Cena's gone away recently. He's had 2 injuries. Last year he had one from August to November, and the year before that he had it from, or the 2 years before that he had it from.
It's like you could have fooled me. It's like Triple H. Apparently he was injured a while ago. You couldn't tell from now, but back a couple of while ago.
I hope that leg falls off. That would be great if his leg just fell off.
Oh my God! James, are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back with you. Yeah.
Okay, what's up, buddy? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Good. Yeah.
No, you sound sad. Yeah, no, I hope Triple H's quad actually falls from his body.
Like Triple H, Cena, and Randy Orton are all driving to the airport together, and the car skids out, and they all get into an accident.
That'd be the best accident ever. This sounds so horrible.
Holy shit!
I'm not participating in this part of the discussion.
Well, too bad, James, because this is really fucking happening. This might even go up on YouTube, baby. This is how offensive this is. This could go.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, if that happened, if that car accident took place, their plans for WrestleMania would be really effing screwed.
So I can't believe I said effing. So we got to put new talent on the show in featured positions. That's never worked, ever.
Our WrestleMania main event would have to be Shawn Michaels and Jack Swagger. No!
Yeah, Shawn's going to be in there. It's going to be Shawn versus Hunter somehow, and boy, oh boy, I can't wait. I'm just licking my chops for that one.
I thought they did that Hell in a Cell match and made that the last time they were ever allowed to wrestle or some crazy thing like that.
But this time, Michaels is going to turn on Hunter.
No, he won't, because somehow that would go against Jesus, even though AJ finds the way to do it each and every time he turns heel. Maybe because AJ realizes he's playing a fucking character and he's not a psychopath like Shawn, who thinks he's actually the guy that he's on TV. I got to justify everything to the floor. Were you going to say, Patrick?
No, I was just going to say, it's like, the feud, if they do Triple H and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, it's going to be like, I respect you, man. I respect you, too.
Yeah,
the hype video is going to be like just highlights of their career because there's going to be no real story.
I am simply the best sports entertainer alive today, and everyone will praise the shit out of it because they're conditioned to obligatorily praise Shawn Michaels matches, even if they're with a shit bag like Triple H.
Well, I think I just saw the future. I think they're going to do that now.
No, they are. That's the rumored main event.
Oh.
Yeah.
That seems
that could
really unnecessary.
Well, you remember there's the
Then again, if that was supposed to be the last.
It sounded like you were going to break into song there. He rode a blazing saddle.
they have Triple H in the main event every year. Remember, it's the rule.
But if that had to be their last match, the Hell in a Cell match, then I guess Ric Flair wouldn't be wrestling again, in Australia or anything.
In all fairness, it wasn't their last match. It was just like end the feud. So, because that wasn't even their last match. You do remember they wrestled with Taboo Tuesday later that year.
Yeah, but in all fairness, the fans voted on that one. They didn't plan that. Well, as far as we know.
But I'm saying, that match wasn't really their final match. If we're going to be fair to the storyline, they never said it was their final match. It was just like an ultimate feud ender.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought it was supposed to be their last match.
No, they wanted it to. It's funny because Jared's like, please end this feud, and the fans were like, yes, please. But it's funny because I remember reading, I forgot whose book it was, but they're talking about that match, and they're like, so Triple H and Shawn Michaels, we're set to go in a Hell in a Cell match. The problem with this, Shawn Michaels is one of the greatest workers of all time, and Triple H thinks he is. I disagree with that, Eric. I think that Triple H is one of the greatest workers. You can justify it by all the great matches he's had in 2009. Yeah, come on, James. What good match has he put on this year?
He's done pretty good impressions of Raven during promos.
Well, but what good matches has he put on this year? If we're gonna, because I know you're thinking that I was too hard on Triple H there. What good matches has he put on this year?
Well, not this year. I mean, truthfully, this
Okay,
year's not.
Okay, Andre. I mean, I'm so used to yelling at Andre. James, if the Triple H is basically a starter role on perhaps your football team, let's say a quarterback. If Triple H isn't throwing any touchdowns, why is he still in the position? He's a top guy in the company. Shouldn't he be having at least some good matches? I mean, I'm not talking about we need to have like Ricky Steamboat, HBK in their prime type thing. I'm talking about,
Eric,
maybe some good matches.
Eric, if you're using that analogy, you live in Chicago, and you should know it's like he's playing for the Cubs. They all still come watch him, and he's a bum.
There's so many others that have had good matches this year that, I mean, he's in a position where he's quote unquote carrying the company, but he hasn't had any. In fact, 2008, did he have any good matches last year? Oh, maybe he did. I'm thinking the Triple H Vladimir Kozlov match that was voted worst match of the year in numerous publications.
Was it really?
Yeah, most things it was vote worst match.
Well,
He's not
pretty hilarious.
He's not had his best couple of years, but it's always been. It's become formulaic with him. Everything is just
that's what I stated at the beginning of the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
Whenever somebody says, it's like, oh, what do you think is going to happen at WrestleMania? It's like, well, I don't know who Triple H is going to work with, but it's going to be for the world title. You just know. There's no point in being creative or trying to come up with good stories. Because what'd you say?
They're handcuffed to him.
Exactly.
You can't. If I tell you, James, write me a story, but the ending has to go this way, but then you're like, oh, but I have a good story, but it doesn't end that way. I'm sorry, James, you got to write this. This has to be the ending. It has to have a giant flaming cloud in it. And you're like, but I'm writing a cop story. And you're like, no, sorry, we got to do this. That's what we're basically in. It's like, okay, guys, come up with a story that ends at WrestleMania. Okay, but it has to have Triple H at the ending. My story had Shawn Michaels and Randy Orton. No, we can't do that, guys. That's basically what it is. You were handcuffed, and nobody sees the problem with this. And he comes on these talk shows. If you go and watch the Michael Landsberg Off the Record shows, he's like, I'll tell you what, Vince McMahon is a businessman, and if you're not selling tickets, you're not going to be out there. But guess what? You're at the fucking base audience that wrestling will always have, that 3.0 audience that is always going to be there. If Triple H is not there, that audience will stay there. So why keep him on there if he's not doing anything and he's stale? why keep him on there? If you're going to get the same fucking rating, who fucking cares?
Cass stayed there because he went away in 07. He went away for 8 months and had no effect on the ratings at all whatsoever.
Even though the DX thing is false for so many reasons, and one of the reasons is because what are they rebelling against? But they just did it a few years ago anyway. It's not like it's like, oh, I haven't seen them in a decade. No, I haven't seen them in 2 years.
Yeah, the first time sucked because it was the same thing, but at least you're like, oh, man, at least they're together and it's kind of nostalgic. But then the second time you're like, oh, this isn't even nostalgic anymore. It's just shitty stuff.
With children getting super kicked.
If you watch the old DX stuff, it's almost like they're fucking joking. Like this DX thing is like a metaphysical parody. And you see like you see Michael's in there, and he's playing the title like Hogan. I'm like, and that was funny at the time because you're like, oh, Shawn, the fresh guy at the time, is parodying the stale guy, and now you're looking at these two stale motherfuckers who can't excite anyone in a 10-foot race, and you're like, oh, hey, where's somebody who can somebody dress in leather chaps and do your stupid tired pose? Can that happen? Because you're exactly, as I said multiple times, what you were satirizing back then. And
they had 2 chances. They've had 2 chances to try and do a feud with the young guys kind of getting over on DX and making fools out of them. That was the rated RKO thing, which because of Triple H's injury.
Well, they won thanks to God himself. He's like, nope, not in this feud, Hunter. Bam.
Out of WrestleMania, buddy.
I am not watching another WrestleMania with you. Go ahead, Patrick.
But yeah, there was the rated RKO feud, which they didn't get to finish, unfortunately, and which probably would have ended with the.
I don't know. I count it as a finish. I count it as rated RKO winning.
Oh well, that's pretty cool then. And there's this recent feud with Legacy, and they just kind of made Legacy comes off looking like these stupid fools.
Well, I mean,
unfortunately,
it doesn't help that Ted and Cody are like smaller than Shawn Mike. I'm not saying this is a problem that they need to be bigger, but the fact is, if every time they're in the ring, they're just running into Triple H's fist, that's not going to promote them as better wrestlers. I mean, they should be like promoted as some sort of crafty guys, and they were. And generally, they were in the breaking point match. They isolated the team member and they made Shawn submit clean. It was good, but most of the time they're just friggin' running away all the time because Triple H is Conan the Barbarian. Oh, by the way. Funny note, I was reading Muscle and Fitness magazine a few weeks ago, and Triple H was talking about, he's like, you've been involved in movies, right? Yeah, they've been talking to me about the Thor role for a while, but I guess he's like, I haven't heard much about it. I don't know if it's happening. Apparently Triple H is a moron, and Vince doesn't show him trade papers because the role of Thor was cast in May, and I read this thing a few weeks ago. So maybe Hunter's just out of the loop, or he's just a complete idiot in denial. But yeah, Hunter, I don't think the role's going to you.
Didn't get Conan, he didn't get Thor, he didn't even get Goldberg's role in the Looney Tune movie. It's like, I guess nobody wants the movie.
By the way, is anyone laughing as much as like the fact that like he crushes Goldberg like politically in the WWE, but then he can't like in the real world where he's not like fucking the director's daughter. He's like, oh shit, and then Goldberg like beats him out for a role. Did anyone just want to fucking be a fly in the wall in the Helmsley household the night that I don't know why I said the Helmsley household, but in the Levesque household the night that he lost the role to Goldberg, when the production assistant called him and said, Paul, we thought you did a great job, but we wanted somebody really tough, and we just went with Bill.
Ooh. All right.
We don't have to go, James. Relax.
We do have to go. We're kind of over time, aren't we?
We're about 7 minutes over time.
You got to go.
This is fun. We don't have to go. This is archive stuff.
What?
This is bonus material. People pay their hard-earned money for this.
It's like you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Andres, what are you going to say?
We can have like a telethon, dude. Let's keep it going.
Yeah,
but we don't have a giant-headed guy in a wheelchair.
Yeah. The telethon for the position for
Stephen Hawking?
No, I'm talking about, what's that guy's name? Hey, lady.
Oh, Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis.
Melman.
We should stay on the
air. Oh, by the way, guys, I was thinking of starting to watch The Big Bang Theory, but I would need to probably start with the first season. Is that how many episodes are in a season for them?
Probably about 28.
The first season was about 17, and I think the second season was a little bit longer.
Does it go through quick?
Yes, yeah, very much
It
so.
goes through very quick, especially if you're laughing your ass off. I went through season 1 in a day and didn't realize it.
I went through the first disc of season 2 in one sitting and didn't get up.
Wow.
So it's a fun show. I mean, it's not going to. Don't go into it expecting it to be, suspenseful. Go into it expecting it to be funny.
Really?
Things
Really? This sitcom on CBS, James? I was actually thinking I was going to be gripping the chair at every moment, afraid for my life.
Well, it's like you want to know the backstory before you go into it. Like, all right, I want to know what the character building is. What's the character building before I jump into the season?
There's no real characters. Well, actually, there are real characters, which is what makes it a good show, because unfortunately these days TV shows don't have any defined characteristics and characters. They just have a bunch of people that fill people. So anyway, you got Sheldon, who's like this anal retentive maniac, and Leonard, who is David from Roseanne, who's just the voice of reason kind of guy, and the rest of them are on there. They got some Hindu dude that's kind of doesn't fill a role, but I guess there for whatever reason to.
Well, he's scared to death of women, so yeah, it's like all the nerds make friends with the hot chick, and he can't talk to her because he's afraid of women.
It's a good show. I mean, and truthfully, you will watch it, and when you do watch it, you're going to realize once and for all that you are indeed a dork. But once you accept that, and I'm
not as bad as those guys.
Wait, why do you think that I am don't think I'm a nerd? Where did this come from?
Well, come on, Aaron. You are the cool guy in this group. I mean,
First of all, I don't know how I got that designation. Second of all, I'm a professed Star Wars wrestling metal nerd, all sorts of things. I watch Godzilla movies. When was I denying my nerddom to you, James? Did I not come out to you soon enough in my nerddom? What was this, James? You seem to be attacking me for portraying something that I'm not portraying.
I think a lot of people will be shied away from this show because they don't want to admit that they're dorks for laughing at the humor. And there's also probably an element of it that people aren't intelligent enough to keep up with the humor.
Triple H would watch it because he doesn't know what things are like Bruce Banner, Hobbit, or other things.
Yeah.
Because apparently Triple H has never. Yeah, apparently Triple H has never viewed pop culture.
Or science culture, or anything.
And that's why you're not good. That's why you don't get roles in Thor, asshole.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wait a second. The asshole who wanted to fucking be Thor is trying to make a character who doesn't know what Hobbit and that Bruce Banner is the Hulk. Oh, fuck you. How do you like that, you little bitch? You didn't get the fucking role, you piece of ass. Yeah, fuck you cunt ass motherfucker. I'm so glad you didn't get the role.
I remember hearing a few years ago that they were planning to make a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe movie, and there were talks that Triple H was going to be He-Man. I'm like, I'm not going to go see that because that'll suck.
I read a lot of the trade papers like Variety and stuff, and that was probably wrestling fans speculating and conjecture, but I don't know if there was any serious director that thought to cast Triple H in a role. I mean, the closest he got was Blade.
Blade 3?
Yeah, Blade.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to hop off here, but feel free to keep on going.
Keep ranting. I've still got a few minutes left in me.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go for about 5 minutes. But, yeah, no.
Friday night, James.
He's, yeah, next.
I might want to stay on it.
What?
But I was going to say, I'll stay on all night until I get petitioners for blood in the Hell in a Cell match. I'll stay. I won't go to bed.
I'll tell you what, break into the show and pass it around the crowd.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, Andres, go to wherever they're doing it. But I have a question for you guys, and a serious question, Andres, not like you being a douche. Do you think they're going to go Morrison Punk at Mania?
Could be. Depends. Could be, because right now you have Jericho and Edge. You can have Undertaker's going to. I don't know. You could. Depends how they play it out.
Patrick?
Based on what they're doing now, if Punk survives Undertaker and Batista, I think that's the only option they can do. Now, my fear is that they're going to I think, Eric, you're the one that put this idea in my head. My fear is that Cena will win the Rumble, switch over to SmackDown, and you'll get Cena and Batista for the title, which would be awful.
Oh, that would be awful. But I'm asking you, what do you think?
I think that's, based on what I'm seeing right now, I think that's exactly where they're going.
Actually, if you can always do Morrison Punk by no matter what you do now, you have Morrison win the Rumble, and that would shock everybody. And then you can.
Well, yeah, I think that's actually a great point by Andres. The fact is, the Rumble's the chance, and I would bet if they build him correctly going in, put Morrison in there with Hunter, put him in with Cena, put him with Batista, put him in with anyone there. I guarantee you there is going to be a slew of 20-year-old guys and girls and people who really love wrestling. They're going to be fucking overwhelmingly chanting for Morrison. It's going to be like Hogan over Rock at Mania. It's going to be like all those times that it's going to be like Sid over Shawn at Survivor Series 96. It's going to be, I can guarantee you, that if he's in the Final Four or a Final Two section, there's going to be a bass a bass resonating of fans cheering for him over whoever the other guy is because they'll get excited that a new hot star could take the lead.
If they do Morrison Punk, they can actually have a main event at WrestleMania that actually involves wrestling, and that could be the new wave to take it over. You know, like an actual.
Well, they would also have two guys who have never main evented WrestleMania, two fresh characters on the biggest stage of them all for the first time. And honestly, when was the last time that happened?
God.
Angle Brock, right?
Angle Brock, yeah.
I would say, I'd say Angle Brock. Maybe Diesel Shawn if you consider that the main event. I know they had Taylor and Bigelow, but bottom line, it doesn't happen often, and I think it could be a big hit for them.
Yeah.
Brett Yoko was a fresh one.
That's true. They fucked it up, but that's another story entirely.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I mean, it was a fresh story. It was new guys going in. You thought you were going to get something new. I mean, this is the same thing. I mean, and by the way, I think Punk and Morrison Mania match could be a match of the year candidate.
Well, with those guys, those two put on good matches. They actually leave it in suspense if you don't know who's going to win, and that's what I love about their style of wrestling. They're wrestlers that no matter how it's built up going in, you get lost in the middle of their match, and you can go one win. You get 2 counts, near 2 counts, back and forth, and you're on the edge of your seat. Who's going to win?
And in the end, and I'm going to go on this, in the end, when you get sucked into a match, isn't that the art of wrestling?
It's almost like the Morrison Stereo match, except that everybody knew Morrison was going to win. It was just like that match. You were on the edge of your seat. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's something that Dave Meltzer doesn't understand with his friggin' star ratings and everything.
That's because he's taking notes. That's because he's taking notes during the matches.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, I'm gonna head off, but I think that we should leave a lot of people with food for thought of how they feel about Morrison and Punk in the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's a topic we could continue on next week and the week after and just keep going. Since we like to take these topics and pound them into the ground anyway.
Yes, and in fact, Patrick, dare I suggest next week on the interactive interview, we talk about said topic. We're promoting next week's show, even though nobody can listen to this until they listen to the archive.
Yeah, we got to leave them asking questions about that. See, Vince, this is how you do it with Monday Night Raw. You got to leave them asking questions, like, to get their minds going, thinking into next week's show and what could possibly happen.
By the way, I think you're both assholes. Why do I think that? What's going to happen next? You'll have to tune in next week to find out.
All right.
Well, we know why you think Andres is an asshole.
Yeah, you know what? Andres is the man, even though he owes me that book. But
you know, it's funny for anybody that ever gets a chance to meet Eric. If something just for guilty pleasure is when he is talking and he gets all emotional into a topic. Just interrupt him and throw off his chain of thought. He gets so pissed. Eric, I love you, but it's funny sometimes. I just throw in a wrench and you're like, you're an idiot. And then you're like, what was I thinking? Oh, my God.
You were a strange man, but this Sunday you're going to bring that Bret Hart book.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
All right, everybody. And Patrick, maybe the three of us. I was thinking of possibly doing my own pay-per-view preview this Sunday. I'm thinking about it.
Your own show on Blog Talk?
Yeah. Maybe, maybe
cool.
not. I don't know if I'll even have time, but let's keep the option open.
Well, if you're doing it, man, just give me a call.
I will. In fact, you would have to run the switchboard because I can't get service in my place. But I'll talk to you guys still later, okay?
All right, later, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, bye.
Bye.
This is Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Oh, for us.
Featuring the interactive interview.
Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Formerly The Blaze.
The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze rock.
Yo, Maniacs, so what you gonna do when the Blaze of Mania runs wild on you?
On WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling
Epicenter. Wrestling
Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And now we shamelessly name drop from our history.
The Wrestling Epicenter would like to apologize for the following.
All right, everybody. Viva la raza. Viva la raza.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, ladies.
Hey guys, we had a lovely conversation. First lady, absolutely. Oh, look at me. She's so kooky.
Be there. Where else?
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Wrestling
Epicenter.
Oh my God, you win! Love being interactive.
Whoa! I just got some Lesnar. I was gonna shoot him. Yeah, I almost missed my pants. Breaking neck. I got 2 words for you. I've heard a lot about you guys. Let's go. I see my language. You're gonna go to the shop. Don't be a no. Into the many.
No nerves.
That was great. It's gonna be cool. Woo! What it's all about. The purest point of view. The living legend. Champion. Arrogant.
You're listening to me.
Instead of statement, I'm talking to you.
So lonely without you.
Yeah.
In the land of extreme.
Testify. Nevermore. Interactive interview. I'm not just the best. Interactive interview with a plastic.
You earned the right.
Nobody. You better keep listening. Thank you very much. Controversy creates cash. Professional wrestling.
Made in the USA, baby.
Memphis wrestling. The guy on fire. I'm not
We were sexy.
What a show.
The one and only.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling
Epicenter. Interactive interview. We took care of the business. This isn't ballet. We are huge with this whole. You're where it's at. You better recognize who's the best. Make sure you tune in each and every week. I'll come out of your computer. Knock down your door and turn it on for you. Or else I'm going to kick your stinking teeth in. And that's the bottom line. Have a nice day. It's showtime.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.